Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, welcome back to another exciting episode of Epicenter, where we feature industry influencers and entrepreneurs from around the region who have something really interesting to say. Today, we have someone super interesting, Paul Meyers.
Hi.
Hey, I've known you for a long time.
Yeah.
And welcome to Epicenter.
Thank you.
So I want to introduce you as best and as worst as possible.
Okay, let's start with the worst.
Yeah. So you're from Chicago.
Yeah.
You used to live in a teepee.
Yes.
You were a fireman.
Yes.
You served kosher food between fire drills.
Yes.
You were a bigwig TV executive, and you're the real OG mobile content guy. Some of this is true. Some of this may not be true. I don't know, but you got to stick around today to find out. So Paul, tell us, who is Paul and how the hell did you come to Asia?
How the hell did I
with that kind of background?
Let's see. So I studied film in university, documentary, and I made documentaries. But when I graduated, way back when dinosaurs ruled
dinosaurs roamed Earth.
Right?
Yeah.
Exactly. There was no cable TV, so nobody was making money making documentaries. So I did different things. I worked in news. I started to do a lot of corporate work. I made science documentaries for the U.S. Congress. Mm-hmm. I got to do all sorts of cool stuff like that. But I went to California and I fell in love with Northern California. So I'm going to move here. So I moved to San Francisco in the early '80s and worked for a long time in the Valley with tech companies, so Apple and IBM and HP and a lot of mainframe companies that don't exist anymore. And they started sending me to Asia, and I'm like, oh, I really like this. So I wrote my first business plan, and I had a production company at that point in the Bay Area, and I wrote my first business plan to extend it to Asia. And I raised some money and looked at Hong Kong and looked at Singapore, and Singapore was dangling some tax incentive. I drank the Kool-Aid, and I've kind of been there ever since. And that was like, 1990? Right?
Wow.
Yeah.
So you've been in Asia in 1990 till now, so 30 plus
years. I know, it's crazy. And most of it in Singapore, 30 years in Singapore, which is astounding to me.
But you've toured Asia.
Yes.
I mean, when we met originally, I think it was here in Bangkok.
Right. I had so that was the mobile space.
Yeah.
We'll jump forwards. We'll skip internet for the time being.
We'll skip internet. Skipping internet, you went from the big screen to the little screen.
Exactly. And progressively smaller screen.
Take us through that screen minimization path.
So I used to make documentaries, which is great. But then kind of got bored with the corporate videos. I made a lot of tapes and programs about Ethernet and hard drives and that.
Ethernet,
yeah.
Ether would probably be pretty popular right now.
Yeah. I could tell you a lot about Ethernet. I made a music video about the history of Unix once, which was actually my final. I bowed out on the rock music video history of Unix and moved on to different kinds of things. So I did kids' educational CD-ROMs. I produced
CD-ROM. Remember to insert a picture of a CD-ROM here.
Yeah.
Most people won't know what that is.
I know. This is before there was an internet. If you remember the Magic School Bus, maybe some of our audience grew up with the Magic School Bus. So I helped do the artwork for that. And in Vietnam, I was hired to set up an animation facility doing artwork for educational CD-ROMs. So I did that for a while, produced a few on my own. Eventually made it to that didn't work out so well, though. The funders pulled the plug. I moved to Singapore and I worked with...
so you actually did live in Vietnam for a while?
Yeah, I lived in Vietnam for a year and a half. Yeah, 94 and 95.
Wow.
Right, in Ho Chi Minh City. And I was there when they turned the traffic lights back on. And I was there when the first escalators showed up. I mean, it was a very different place than it is now, right? But I have a very fond memory and good friends who live there still. And I was just there recently and it's just amazing how it's changed. But I moved back to Singapore and I worked for what is now CNBC Asia. Back then it was Asia Business News. Again, pre-internet, I was head of multimedia. Okay, and we did a radical thing. We did streaming television news to your computer.
No way.
Yeah. Pre-internet. right? We did this technology through the vertical blanking interval. We made this thing. We had a databases so you could file stories and set it up. It was very cool. And I got to raise money. That's when I first did the whole venture thing. There were 15 venture capital companies in Asia, and I met them all and pitched them all. We raised like $5 million to do this product called ABN On Demand.
And this was in early 90s?
96.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, 96.
Raising $5 million in 96
97,
for a tech startup.
Yeah. Well, it wasn't exactly a tech startup. I mean, we were half owned by Dow Jones, right? But
still,
we raised some money.
Impressive.
Yeah, it was pretty cool. They, however, Dow Jones then sold to CNBC, to MSNBC, and because they had an interactive arm, we were all let go. So worked with a couple of friends to start an internet company. It was 4 of us started this company, which in 2.5 years grew to 650 people in 8 countries and a NASDAQ listing. So what we did was we brought Western media brands to the Asian internet space. So CNET, we brought CNET to Asia. I founded MTVAsia.com. I did the joint venture deal with Viacom in New York to start that. We did eOnline. We did DoubleClick. We did Sports.com. One of my favorites was Fashion TV. Brought Fashion TV to the Asian internet space. And then also simultaneously I raised money for that and set up the entities around so in Taiwan and in China and in Hong Kong and in India and in Japan. So we set up entities and local editorial and ad sales teams, and boom. So 650 people. We went public, as it turns out, on the second worst day still in the history of NASDAQ. We went out the same day that Krispy Kreme donuts went out. So Krispy Kreme went north. We did not go north. We were all wealthy for about 6 hours. But it was cool. I mean, we had trading floor at Goldman Sachs. I got to be at NASDAQ, have the thing going around. And it was heady and exciting. And I learned a lot. But the company was gone very soon thereafter, as most early internet startups did. Pop, that was that.
So you are big screen producing shows for TV. Then you're going kind of computer, desktop, streaming before people even know how to spell streaming,
Correct.
right?
It was double with the P, yeah.
Streaming, yeah, P. And still dial-up?
Yeah.
Wow, ADSL.
Yeah, exactly. ADSL was a big deal. We got ADSL.
That was like,
man. Fiber. Wow.
Fiber,
yeah.
Yes. And then, so this is where we kind of started to intersect.
Yes, that we move into mobile.
So now you're on the small screen.
Now I'm on the smaller screen. So that company, I left that company, had a couple kids, was still in Singapore, figuring out what to do next. I started to see mobile games show up, and there was no app store then. There was no iPhone then, right? So people had Java phones, right? And the way that you got a game or your content, because I sold other things then too. I sold ringtones and screensavers. You remember screensavers, all that kind of stuff. I sold text subscription services, dating services, that kind of stuff. So basically I said, let me try this out. And I was one of the very first people on LinkedIn, as it turns out. And I built my entire business on LinkedIn from like my bedroom.
You remember when you joined LinkedIn?
No, but I'm pretty early. I mean, the number is like 5 digits or something like that. Yeah, it's pretty early. And so I found game developers all over the world. I just wrote them notes and said, "Hey, are you distributing in Southeast Asia?" And of course, none of them were. So I said, "Let me be that guy." And so pretty quickly, I built this company where I was distributing the mobile games for virtually every major developer in the world into Southeast Asia. I raised some money around that. We built our own platform so we could do it, and then we had we built a micro billing platform. And we integrated with the billing systems of 17 carriers in Southeast Asia. So after 4 or 5 years, we became the biggest distributor of mobile games in Southeast Asia. Distributed everybody except Disney. I was connected to, you name a carrier, and and some of them I was running their games deck. So you would go to buy a game, you'd go to DTAC or True or
Singtel
or Globe or whomever, right? And you'd go to their deck, and they'd have games there, and you'd download it. So we are powering a lot of that. Plus, we had our own direct-to-consumer one too. But we had the billing systems all integrated.
So for those people that this predates some people, how did you actually deliver and build content?
Wow. So we had to integrate our system with the billing system of
Of
every
the telco.
telco.
Yes.
Which, if you don't know telcos, the billing system is kind of it. That's that's the heart and lungs.
Right.
Right. So they're very protective about it, and you have to go through all sorts of protocol and testing and this and that because you don't want to mess it up or screw it up. But eventually, I mean, the ones in the Philippines, they took 16 to 18 months to go through that whole process to finally integrate and get up and running. It took a long, long time. So we did that, and we built a process that you would send a message, yes, I want X game, and X game would then trigger this call to bill, and that would happen here, and they go and check do you have enough money on your card? Because it was all
You're prepaid.
There was prepaid or postpaid. You do that, and then eventually, oh yeah, Ronan has enough money to download the Britney Spears ringtone. So down comes Britney Spears, right? And that's how it worked. We do all that delivery, and then we track it, and we then send monthly reports out to all the different rights holders.
Sounds very familiar.
Yeah.
I think I was doing the same thing. This was
you were doing kind of the same thing.
I was doing the same thing.
Yeah.
I got to admit, Paul. So that's where Paul and I met.
Yes.
So we met in the intersection of mobile content. We were basically selling digital junk to people.
Yeah.
Yeah, ringtones, screensavers, astrology reading. Did you do astrology reading?
Man, I did it all. I did dating tips. I did sex tips. I did everything.
Wow, jokes.
Yeah, jokes, the whole bit. And it was fun. And often the tech subscription services were the ones that made the most money because it's very easily consumed, right?
Yeah, and a lot of us remember those days. But I think that's pretty important because it was like, for me, that's how I learned how to monetize digital content on mobile.
Yes.
And I think that if you think about it today, everyone does everything through their mobile phones.
Right.
But we're talking about 15, 17, 20 years ago, where people didn't even know that you could buy stuff through your mobile phone.
Right. It was SMS billing, right? It was
billing.
WAP billing. Remember WAP billing?
WAP billing, short codes.
Yeah. I had my own short codes. I was like, I was a dude. I was the only one with his own short code. Like,
you remember when we tried to buy you?
Yeah. I do.
That was pretty funny. I think what happened there? Did we offer you something?
I think you offered me like a peanut butter sandwich or something like that. Yeah.
What's wrong with peanut butter sandwiches?
It had no jelly. It had no mayo. It didn't have any, no bacon. So we didn't.
No bacon and peanut butter.
Yeah,
so that kind of turned down. But you luckily exited from that business.
Yes.
What was it? 2008, 2009?
2009. A Mexican company bought us actually. Which was a bit of a surprise, but they had a plan to use the platform. They had a methodology that was working really well in Latin America, and they basically took that and used that in the major markets here. So here in the Philippines, and a little bit in Indonesia, it did very well. But
they bought you. They got immediate access to
billing.
Southeast
they got immediate billing access. Yeah,
those short code contracts are very, very difficult.
Yes,
a lot of relationship, a lot of negotiation with operators.
A lot of patience.
Oh my God, patience. Philippines.
Yes.
16, 18 months. I remember you told me.
Yes, it was.
Good luck getting in the Philippines. You know how long I spent there. I was like, we can do it ourselves. Don't worry. And then
you're still trying.
We're still trying today. So you sold the company. And then you're like sitting here, what the hell do I do next?
Right. Well, then I was like a single dad with 3 young kids. So I took the better part of that decade to raise the kids. I was doing that. I was doing some consulting work here and there, mostly in the telco space. So did some work for Vodafone, did some work for Xerox, did some, projects like for Microsoft and this and that. But I kind of splashed around, continued there. But when I raised money and when we started those companies, the venture capital world was very different than it is today. So as you know, like 10, 12 years ago, we started seeing more local VCs starting, call it 12, 15 years ago. And started in Singapore, the Singapore government put a lot of money into creating a venture community, and that's kind of spread around. Here in Thailand, it's mostly corporates, CVCs, corporate venture capital, but it started springing up around the region. So you started to have more startups. To have a startup was glorious, right? And I started helping startups, right? I did a little advising, I did a little mentoring, I did a little this, a little that. I worked with them to help raise money or to how to make this crazy thing work. Eventually, I was offered the entrepreneur in residence role with MOX, the Mobile Only Accelerator, part of SOSV,
right.
and our friend William
Yes.
Baubin. And so I did that for a year, and that was great. Got to help mobile startups around the region just learn the ropes and kind of get a leg up and try to get going and stuff. And so that was pretty fun, and I learned a lot then. And then I was recruited to run an accelerator program for Telstra, the Australian telco, which is called Muru-D. And did that for a year, and that was really terrific. We were, I'd say, in the top 3 accelerators in Asia at that point.
Wow.
Yeah, we did really, really well. And it was great, and had a great team, and had some really great startups. One of them is very, very big in Bangladesh now. One of the near unicorns in Bangladesh came through our program, a company called ShopUp. And we did great job, and unfortunately Telstra was not doing great business then, and so they pulled the plug on us. Program. Yeah, unfortunately. I then went on to the Asian Development Bank, ADB, and helped them start their first venture fund, which is an impact fund for emerging markets in Asia called ADB Ventures. And so did 18 months kind of in and out of the Philippines doing that, and also working on a lot of little projects that ADB was touching and funding. So got to go to, Papua New Guinea, and spent a lot of time in Myanmar and Kazakhstan.
Have you been to every city in Asia? Or every country, basically?
I was at an Antler event, and they asked people who's been to which cities, and I won the bottle of champagne.
Nice.
Yeah.
So this is just a rewind. This is our second intersection, both being mentors at MOX.
Right.
Mobile-only accelerators.
Exactly.
As you would, they looked for mobile dinosaurs who said, understood the space.
Right.
Said, let's pull guys like Paul and Renan into the program and help our founders and these companies get off the ground with a mobile-only focus.
Right.
And so we both mentor there, but I think you have a different passion now.
Yes.
I mean, mentoring is there, and this is something that is, I guess, always going to be there. But you also are now spending a lot of time, or maybe most of your time, coaching.
Right.
What is the difference between mentoring and coaching?
Great question. If you go online, you'll see 40,000 different answers to this.
I thought you were going to say $40,000.
I wish, yeah. My view, and it differs from some people's view. Okay, so mentoring in general to me means that you have a specific problem that you need solved. Okay, whether it's, I need how do I build this SaaS database? How do I connect? How do I measure these kinds of things? So you go to experts in those specific areas who can help you do those things. It's finite. To me, mentoring is a finite activity, and you want to learn how to do X, and once you've done that, to me, that should end at that point. Different accelerator programs, different mentorship programs, different funders have different views of it. But to me, it's a very discrete, defined activity. Okay, generally free.
Generally free, maybe a bit of sweat.
A bit of sweat, right? Yeah. And maybe there's some equity, and maybe there's, it depends on the deal, but generally it's free. And that's in the startup community. If you're in a big company, mentoring is a little different, where you have more experienced people helping younger people learn how to do different kinds of things in the corporate sense, but also in the actual skill-based sense too.
Okay.
But with startups, it's solving a problem.
Right.
That's how I say it.
Specific problem.
Right. Coaching, to me, is a little bit longer term, a little less prescriptive, more helping in my case founders discover their strengths and understand what's going on within them and how to solve problems on their own. It's not prescriptive at all. It's together we'll explore these kinds of issues or problems, and you come up with the answers. I guide you, right? But I'm not telling you this is what's going on, right? And that can be open-ended. my typical engagement is 3 months, but it can extend. We together decide whether or not to extend it. But it's 3 months, but it could be open-ended as well.
And like being a coach, I assume that there's some principles that you have as a coach, or just how you run things.
Right.
What are the principles for you as being a coach and coaching founders, CEOs? Kind of how do you determine between a potential founder if you're the right fit? What are the things that you do?
Sure, good question. So initially, we will have a conversation. A free conversation, right? There's no check
kind of like
or anything. It'd be like this.
Yeah.
Half an hour, whatever, where you tell me what you want to be figuring out, right?
I want to be a podcaster.
There you go.
Okay.
There you go. And I'll say, I'll try to dissuade you from doing that.
Okay.
Right. But
all right, let's stop.
There you go. Then here's my bill.
That was the best coaching.
Yeah, that was pretty easy. So then I'll come back and based on that conversation, I'll say, this is what I think we should do. And generally it's, this general package is about 3 months and talk every other week for an hour and a half, whatever. Homework, you go away and work on things. If you're a founder or a CEO or a C-suite, you're busy. You don't have time to do a lot of homework on this, but they're important issues, right?
Yeah.
So I come back in 2 weeks and we'll go through maybe the homework or discussions. And I forgot a major part here that after we've decided to work together, I'll do a 90-minute, 2-hour, sometimes up to 3-hour kind of intro session to really dig deep to find out what's going on.
Do you need to meet face-to-face now?
No, actually, when I started coaching, everyone said, don't use Zoom. You got to do face-to-face. So I started coaching during COVID.
Right.
And I've done very, very, very few face-to-face. I like it. And, doing coaching while walking is great.
Yes.
Outdoors, doing those kinds of experiential ones I found are really effective, but it's not viable all the time, either A, living in Singapore, or B, during COVID, or both, right? So a lot of this happens remotely and via Zoom. I think a lot of people are much more comfortable about communicating openly on Zoom.
Right.
As
bit of a screen in front of you.
Yeah. I think from my chair, I miss a lot of the physical visual cues, right? But okay, then you figure them out other ways. So we do this intro session, and often what we find is that the things that you told me you wanted to work on when we had the initial conversation are not the ones that are really the core things to be talking about. Okay, they may have been symptoms, may have been outward manifestations of larger issues that you need to resolve. And so at the end of that 2-hour intro call, we generally say, here are the 3 things that we want to be talking about for the next 3 months, and we start to work on those. Okay, and and at the end of 3 months, generally, we've covered those topics sufficiently that the coachee says, this is good. I feel better about that. I've learned these new skills. I have these new ways of dealing with these problems. I have templates to use. I have frameworks to use. I understand that me feeling these things is a result of that. So I should be, instead of acting out and being angry, maybe I should look inside and look at these kinds of issues going on. It's a little bit more understanding. It goes deep. What I find is that for my coaching with founders specifically, there's a kind of a continuum. And on one side is the actual operational things, right? How do I hire a co-founder? How do I get a CEO or a CFO? How do I raise money? How do we expand in 17 countries? Those kinds of things. And over here are the more emotional, internal things. Do people like me? Do they trust me? Am I a good leader? How can I balance my work life situation? Because as a founder, those get really complicated. Does my family respect me if I'm not making a lot of money? Those kinds of issues. So founders tend to be on multiple places on that spectrum simultaneously, and I think that for me, having the operational experience, that's what I can help bring to the table here. Is I know what it's like to be scared about running out of money, or going into a market that I know nothing about, or being forced by a client to do something that you might not be comfortable doing. So I know those kinds of things, and I hope bring a little bit of wisdom to doing that as well.
Mm-hmm. And it comes because you have this experience of having walked those paths once, twice, many a times, right?
Yeah, and bumped my heads many times too.
Yeah, I mean, scars to show for it. Is it, when you are a coach, is there a specific, you mentioned that there's 3 things that you normally focus on, and are these the defined outcomes, and you kind of tick the 3 boxes and say, okay, we're done, or...
That's up to, if you were my client, if you were my coachee, that would be up to you to say, yes, I'm feeling like...
How do you know that when someone says, yes, I've got it, right? How do you know that yes is an authentic, yes, I've actually progressed, or yes,
good question.
I'm just trying to get you off my back, or just trying to help myself feel more secure that I've said yes to you, but really, like, maybe I made progress on this, maybe I didn't, but like... Can you sense?
Yeah. Often I can sense, because we have at that point spent some time together, deep time, intimate, talking about issues. So if you're giving me a line, right, you're pulling my leg. Generally, I can tell, right, or you can tell what people. After a while, knowing people, you can kind of tell when they're telling the truth or covering things up or avoiding, right? One thing that has been that I have found becoming a coach is I am a much better listener now, okay? And I've spent time and classes learning to shut up and listen better and ask better questions, and then I can shut up, right? And so to help elicit those kinds of responses from you, the better question and better listening are 2 tools that I use.
I actually I had my first coach during COVID as well, and she was awesome. And every time I tried to shrug her off by saying yes, I got it, she would be like, "No, you didn't."
Yeah,
and she would put me through this pain funnel. And I told her at the end of one session, I feel like you've ripped me a new one, and I enjoyed every minute of it.
Yeah.
Right? Because you realize that you can't, if you try to just kind of get through it because you felt like you just had to get through the other end and end the session, you weren't really kind of dedicating yourself to the progress.
Correct.
And in order to get the progress, you first have to go through this pain funnel.
Yeah.
And I did feel a lot of pain, right? And I think that a lot of probably the people that you work with, you have uncomfortable moments, right?
You do have uncomfortable moments. And that's kind of my job, right? As a coach, not to beat you up with them or to keep pressing that button, but it's part of the path that we take. And so when we get to that point, you see them and you feel them, and then you think about what that means and how you react, and maybe how you can react differently or not react, right? But you need to turn the light on and see what's going on in that room.
Yeah, like you see people wiggling in their chairs, and I think whether it's coaching or even managing, it's people need to be, especially now, get comfortable being uncomfortable.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And because when you're uncomfortable, then you're trying, you need to find your way to find that comfort in your work, in your life, and everything.
Exactly. And that's I kind of see my role as helping with that. And let's step back for a second. The way I became a coach was I finished with ADB, with Asian Development Bank, and I thought I'd take a couple of months off and figure out what I was going to do. And then COVID hit. So what I was going to do didn't matter because it wasn't going to happen. So I took that time to think about, what's the next 10 years looking like? Okay, this is an inflection point, kind of enforced inflection point. What thinking really going in the cave and thinking what's going to happen. So I love startups and I love working on startups, and I think if we survive as a human race, that a lot of the solutions come out of entrepreneurs and startups. And I'm a real big supporter of that, whether it's food or other kinds of science or whatever. That's where it's going to be. I don't have another startup in me. I'm just of that age, and the 7 to 10 years of intensity that it's required, I don't have in it. But I can help other founders, right? I can help you or other founders achieve those great goals because based on what I've experienced and some of my insight, hopefully can be a contributor. So that's when I became a coach.
What do you feel when one of the people that you've coached becomes successful or does something extraordinary? Is that why you do this?
No, because actually it was a real surprise. What they don't teach you in coach school is how good you feel when that happens. And when if you and I are talking and we really vibe, you can tell when you're in sync with somebody. You have a really good, deep.
Are we in sync?
We're getting there.
Okay.
We're getting there. Yeah, I need more eye contact.
Okay.
You can tell when you're in sync and being effective and having a substantial conversation and that the other person is responding well to it and gaining something from it. So I, as a coach, come away, woo, woohoo. You really feel it. That was not advertised as one of the benefits of coaching, but that's what I find is kind of that. You can feel it. It's a real, I come out charged up. I'm energized. My kids think I'm crazy. I come out of the coaching session, woohoo, yelling and hopping around. Yeah, it's good.
Has someone since you haven't been, I assume you've been doing coaching for probably more than 3 years,
Yeah,
right?
2.5, 3 years. Yeah, I'm in there, yeah.
So you haven't gotten to a moment where someone calls you up and says, hey, Paul, I just want you to know that because of what we did together, I was able to do X, Y, Z or accomplish something that I wouldn't have been able to accomplish yet.
On smaller scales, yes.
Smaller scales.
Yeah.
So small wins.
Small wins.
That big win is coming.
But
or it's not about that.
To me, it's not about that. Having a small win so that you are comfortable making a hard choice. Common issue is co-founder issues are huge, right? I mean, it's very common. How do you resolve this thing? Are you going to go through the 7 to 10 years of intensity with somebody that it turns out you don't like or you don't trust or you don't respect? What are you going to do, right? You can't do it. It doesn't work. And you can pretend for a while, but it's not going to work. So how, as we say in Singapore, what are you going to do? And whether it's splitting up or realigning your conversations or your responsibilities or doing coaching together or therapy together or whatever, those kinds of things to make that work. Those are big and those are important because if that's not working, the company's not going to work. And all that other, you could have a great solution to solving a food problem or a disease problem, but if the co-founders are warring, it doesn't matter. It doesn't, the productive stuff that you potentially can do, it doesn't matter if you guys can't the two of you can't work it out. So that's really important and very common.
Is choosing a co-founder like choosing a wife or even more in depth than that?
It depends who you talk to, right? It can be. Can be. And how you choose a co-founder, there's in the industry, the startup industry has kind of gone full circle. At first, it was solo entrepreneurs was a big thing. I was a solo entrepreneur, right? And then for a while, co-founders were important. And in fact, some VCs and many VCs, investors would not fund you if you didn't have a co-founder. And then co-founders became, I think I want to work with Ronan. I'll make him a co-founder, right? Even though you may not have a
any pedigree or anything.
or the same amount of value maybe as I would as the actual founder or one of the initial engineers did. But because I need a co-founder, it could be cool. Let's get a couple of co-founders. And so it became a little superfluous for a while, not so serious. So now what's happening is we're starting to come back to the solopreneur again. And different investors are okay with funding solopreneurs. I think doing it with somebody who has a skill set that's complementary to you is important. I'm not a tech guy, I can talk up to a certain point and maybe a step or two over and get myself into trouble, but I can't build those things. I can't solve those problems. I can't get under the hood. I think that would be important for me to have as a co-founder, or somebody who knows sales better than I do, or marketing better than I do. That would be very helpful as a co-founder. Everybody has their different strengths and weaknesses, but the personalities can be very different, right? And so that's where the clashes come. I'm like yak. But some software engineers, they say that many words in like an afternoon, right? And all sorts of assumptions can be made based on that, even though it's just your style, right? You're a little more introverted and quiet and thoughtful, and I'm like yak, right? And so the potential for that going south is huge.
So, my experience with co-founder is actually looking at the two co-founders of the company that I work for, AppsFlyer, right? They've been best friends since I don't know how long, high school or something.
Wow.
Just went to school together, and even till today, they do like a week together.
Nice.
They just drop everything and tell their wives and kids, hey, we're doing our co-founder thing, and kind of spend that important time as co-founders building the relationship and strengthening, but also I'm sure they strategize and think about the future together. So I think that's pretty important.
But that's rare. I have to
probably it is.
It's pretty rare, yeah.
Probably it is. And I think you have to be really, I guess you got to be good friends and also good partners, right?
And like a marriage,
yes,
you have to work on it.
Yeah.
It's not all roses. It's not all, first date nights. There's stuff that goes wrong, and you have difference of opinions, and you can have fights and major disagreements, and you need to work on that relationship just like you would a marriage or other kind of, romantic or family relationship. It takes time and energy, and often we don't think that it does because it's just your co-founder, but it's more than that, right? You need to really make sure that that's a strong relationship and that it works.
I want to move to something else that you're really vocal about, and this is mental health of founders, right? Because I think you've kind of framed this already. Being a founder, and whether it's in a singular sense or with a co-founder, it can be lonely.
Yeah.
Right? And being a founder in Asia and Asian society, a lot comes with that. A lot of weight on your shoulders. Talk to me about that and some of your thoughts and experience.
Sure. I think this important topic's getting a lot more attention and light now, which is good because it is important. But being a startup founder is not always glorious. It's hard. It's lonely. It's scary. A lot of founders don't eat well, don't sleep well, don't exercise. Their personal relationships suffer. And that's pretty common, right? But then it can get really even hairier than that, right? And this is, where it can get dark and there's self-harm. And the unfortunate incident that took me to the next step was I had a founder friend who actually took his own life.
Oh, no.
Yeah, who was an investor in one of my companies, and I was an investor in his. And I knew him pretty well, but complete surprise. But that was the thing that really motivated me to say, hey, let's take a look at this, because it was a surprise. I didn't expect it, right? And in talking to other founders, you start to see there are dark moments, man. I think you probably had dark moments too, where it's 2 or 3 in the morning, and who are you going to talk to? You're going to talk to your spouse, your life partner. They're already tired of talking about this stuff, man.
I don't want to hear it.
I don't want to hear it anymore, especially at 3 in the morning, right? Your co-founder may be the problem, may not be that kind of person who you can communicate with. You can't talk to your investors because you're scared that the investors are going to pull the plug, right? So all of a sudden, there you are, and you have crisis of confidence or big problems that you don't know how to solve yourself. In Asia, I think everywhere this is true, but I think it's more true in Asia, in my experience, is that there's raising your hand and saying, I need help is not quite as accepted as it is in our Western culture, right? And so, because the fear of failure is very high, and public failure is still we've come a long ways with startups, and 7 out of 10 startups fail, and
Right.
people understand that. But there is still a stigma attached to it. And if you are a founder saying, "Hey, I need help. I'm scared. This isn't working right," saying that publicly is a major step. I see it more in younger founders now that they're okay doing it, right? But there's still a lot of pain and unnecessary suffering because people are a little scared of looking weak or looking like failure, right? Where actually this is the time to talk through things and to reach out and either work with a coach or work with other founders or work with, talk to your investors, talk to your circle of friends, right? Because you're probably not, if you're in that place as a founder, you're probably isolating. And all those normal situational kinds of support mechanisms that we have as humans, friends and buddies and sports and family and kids and parents and all that, we tend to isolate as we get into the founder area. And then as it gets more intense, you block it off even further.
And here in Asia, I mean, I've talked to quite a few founders here on the Epicenter, but I mean, there is a lot of the founders actually are coming from money, right? And a lot of them are probably first-time founders, and you have. I mean, we talked about this. There's a lot of what is it called? Like social norms around this, and family shame.
Yeah. Yes, I've seen this before.
Yes.
Your sister's a doctor, your brother's a lawyer. What are you doing this crazy business for? Right,
founder, right?
What do you do again? And how come it's not successful? And it's going to take how many years to you start making money? Right? There's a lot of pressure from parents like that. And if you come from a well-to-do family, which most founders do in general, certainly in the West, and in my experience in Asia as well, across Southeast Asia. There's an expectation that of succeeding and not showing the weakness or not showing failure, right? And so that kind of adds into it. Kind of stirs it may not be the motivating factor in and of itself, but it stirs into the mix and makes it a lot harder for somebody to reach out. And that's what I'm there for. I mean, I want to be that kind of person that you can say, yes, it's a safe call to make. Better call Paul. Like that's
call Paul.
That's my slogan, right?
Don't call Saul.
It makes it easy to do that and it's acceptable, right? I mean, if you look at it in Silicon Valley right now, every founder has a coach. Like not having a coach is the weird bit. Here in Asia, it's very rare still to see founder coaches. I hope to help affect that change and make it much more commonplace. Not only for myself, but for founders as well,
right?
Because I think it's important, right?
So, what is this hashtag Better Call Paul? I mean, how does someone find you?
Well, that's a good way.
Yeah.
I'm all over LinkedIn. I do a lot of social media. I write articles. One thing that I do in Singapore is I do a monthly program called Founder Circle, which is a mastermind, a 3-hour free mastermind session for 12 to 15 founders. We get together once a month, lock the door, and talk amongst ourselves. So founders' issues, nothing leaves the room. But it's important for founders.
Kind of like a Illuminati.
Yeah, we secretly plan to take over the world.
Wow, cool.
Also, while we're working through our problems. But having founders hear other founders say the things that they're thinking and feeling is very powerful. And it really helps. And setting up a situation where that's possible is what Founder Circle is about. So I don't have an agenda going in. It's kind of this petri dish where every month is a little different and it comes up. But it's one, fascinating. 2, I learn a lot. And 3, I think it's very helpful for the founders to do it. So I try to do those kinds of things and outreach as much as possible.
That's awesome. I think that's super important, and you provide that outlet for founders to share, because I think the hardest thing is to get people into the same room that wouldn't normally do that, right?
Yeah.
And you being a catalyst of that, just saying, hey, come on in, right?
Right,
You
come
know,
on in,
it's,
and kind of stirring it up a little bit
Yeah.
to make it happen. But it's really, I just find it's fascinating that light bulbs go on sometimes amongst founders to say, oh yeah, that's what I'm feeling too, but they've never said it. They've never heard anybody else say it, right? Because we all tend to keep things inside, and just having an opportunity to hear it and see it, and sometimes there's tears, sometimes people do business together. I mean, everything between the two is fabulous. I just think it's cool, you know? It's like really fun to do too.
Yeah. I love that.
Yeah.
That's awesome. This is super fun.
Yeah.
And, you know, I hate to end these sessions because I think that we could probably go on and talk for 2 hours more. But I do want to go into a rapid fire round.
Ooh, okay.
This is one of my favorite.
Am I prepared for this?
I've tried to pull out some saucy questions for you.
All right.
Mr. Paul, what is your favorite city in the world and why?
Ayo.
You can't say Singapore.
You know, I'm a sucker for Paris still, you know, like I just really enjoy Paris. It's kind of a Western city to walk in. I love to walk. I can walk all day in Paris and go to museums and just be, you know, by myself and have a completely fabulous day, right? To me, that's a great day. So
All in Paris.
All in Paris.
Hashtag.
Right, exactly.
So back to your roots of being in the movies. What's your favorite movie or TV series of all time?
My favorite movie, besides The Big Lebowski.
It's The Big Lebowski, yes.
You know, I was a film major. You should never ask a film major what their favorite movie is because they have 12 favorite movies.
Oh, okay.
Okay, so I like Westerns. I grew up watching Westerns. I love watching Westerns. I love watching movies that are based on the same themes as Westerns. So any of the old John Ford movies or, you know, even some Clint Eastwood ones, I can watch those time and time again, you know, endlessly. I love those.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Awesome. Last meal on earth. You have the choice between an adobo, a krapao, hummus, or a peanut butter sandwich.
Krapao.
Krapao.
Yeah, I had a really good krapao yesterday.
Did you?
Yes, that was like, okay, I remember. You know, a really good one.
Welcome back to Kung Tep Mahanakon and other 72 characters in that.
Yeah, just down the street, man. There it was. And, you know, it's hot and the fans are on. And I had this splendid, you know, epiphany of a meal for like, you know, 150 baht, right? It's awesome.
Yeah. It's great. Who's the most inspirational person to you and why?
Wow. You know, of late, this changes. It's a moving target, okay? Of late, I've been thinking a lot about William Gibson, the author. I don't know if you've read any William Gibson.
I have not, unfortunately.
So, cyberpunk is a term of a genre that he willingly or unwillingly is kind of father of, right? But he's able to, in his novels, it's not quite sci-fi, but it's a few years out in the future, he's able to define and pull on some threads of future technology and behavior that tend to come true very quickly. Like a lot of the internet, he talked about in Neuromancer, some of his early books. And so a lot of this now that he writes about now is about artificial intelligence and who owns the data and where's the data going and how does that affect our lives and free choice and all. They're quite readable. It's not hardcore sci-fi. A lot of people shy away because it's hardcore sci-fi, but they're great novels. And they're smart and they're kind of funny and they're very accessible. So probably today, that's my answer.
Sticking to that theme, what is your bold prediction for a technology that will shape the world in the next 5 years?
Wow. I'm really interested in food tech.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, I mean, let's assume we do become 9 billion people on this planet, we're not going to eat burgers anymore. That's not viable. It's not going to happen. You can't fish, and the fish will be gone, right? So, what are we going to do to feed people? So, I think different food technologies and different methodologies for delivering food and making sure that the existing food supply is more equitable and isn't so wasteful. That's kind of where it's at for me, because if we don't have any food, none of the rest of it really matters to me. So
thank you for not saying ChatGPT.
No, but I did write that using ChatGPT before I came. Right,
okay, so that's good to know.
Yeah.
Well, at least ChatGPT can help you.
There you go. Answer questions to podcasts.
Invent the future.
Yeah, exactly.
And what do you miss the most about the 2000s? Besides your Nokia feature phone.
Yeah, I was going to say like ringtones. Or
ringtone.
So I changed my ringtone all the time on my phone. Do you change your ringtone?
Of course, we had to. That was like.
Do you do it now?
No. Do you do it now?
Yes.
Really?
Yeah.
What's your ringtone right now?
Remember Tubular Bells from The Exorcist? The theme from The Exorcist?
Oh, God.
Yeah, I use that.
Mine's a dog barking.
I'm looking for either Philip Glass. There's a Philip Glass piece I really like called Opening. And then there's also the theme song to a cult game called Katamari Damacy. And I really like the theme song for that, but I can't find a ringtone for that.
Do you have an iPhone or an Android?
I have an iPhone.
You can pick music as your ringtone.
Yeah, I know. I haven't.
Of course you know.
It's like...
of course you know.
My teenagers are too busy to like help me, right?
Yeah, we teach them. Dude, this has been super awesome.
Yeah, this has been fun. Thank you so much.
I appreciate you coming on Epicenter. And there's Paul. And your website is, what is it again?
It's called Asia Founder Coaching.
Asia Founder Coaching. If you want to talk to Paul, you better call Paul.
Better call Paul. Asia Founder Coaching.
That's awesome.
Right.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, Ronan.
All right.
All right.
Cheers.